On YouTube. Today I bring you my number 25th power ranked team for the 2021 NFL season, and as you saw by the title, that is the Carolina Panthers. It's a team that's kind of been stuck in that 5-11 win range for the last couple years, and they might do a bit better this year, but there's a few reasons why I don't think that they will do much better if they do better. So let's dive in. Starting off with the receiving core. This is actually a really nice receiving core. I mean, DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, both 1,000-yard receivers, with Teddy Bridgewater, Will Greer, and PJ Walker throwing them the ball. That's great. They both played fantastic last year. I'm not even sure the last time a receiving duo went both over 1,000 yards. I know for sure Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders did it like 6 years ago, so maybe there's been someone else since then, but that's great by them. And then beyond that, you have some great depth as well. I mean, Terrace Marshall, who is going to be a pretty good slot receiver for them. We'll see if he really is anything more than that. I wasn't super high on him coming out of LSU, but I still do like him. David Moore as a backup is a really solid guy to have as your number 3 or 4. Shi Smith was also a really nice pickup as well. So this is a very good receiving core, actually. It's actually very solid all around. Now, I don't think DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson are like elite receivers, so I'm going to give it a B+ here, but some great depth and some great top 2 guys. So great receiving unit here. On to the offensive line, left tackle room. I would really like to start Brady. I would really like to start Brady Christensen. I don't know if that's going to happen. I will admit that although it was 1 year, I mean, he was fantastic in his senior year. I mean, it was 1 year of kind of that elite protection. He was a big reason why Zach Wilson did as well as he did. I would start him personally over Cam Irving. He was okay for Dallas last year when he did play, but he was nothing special. Greg Little is fine as a backup. I think, with Cam Irving and Greg Little being fine backups, I love the upside in Christensen. He was one of my favorite prospects in this class. I'm going to give this a C+. It could definitely be a lot better, though. The offensive line overall is not the best in the world. Left guard, really the only person worth talking about here is Pat Elflein, and even then he was pretty poor for the Jets last year, so being that the depth there kind of sucks. Now you could move like Deontay Brown or David Moore over there. For this sake, we'll say we'll move Deontay Brown over there. With Deontay Brown, you've got at least a nice young guy. Very sluggish. That's why we'll have to see. Even for a guard, he was very sluggish. There were some concerns and stuff at Alabama. So we'll see. I wouldn't start him yet, but he could hold some potential. Pat Elflein should not be starting. Deontay Brown really shouldn't be starting either, though. There is some upside, though. So I'm going to give that a C for right now. But it could be a lot better. I don't think it's that bad because Deontay Brown, but yeah. Center, Matt Paradis was a pretty good center for a while with Denver. And then, since coming over to the Panthers, he's been okay. Definitely not that same level that he was with Denver. I mean, just because you don't really have anyone behind him and he's a okay guy, I'd say he's on the border of solid. I'm going to give this a C-. But Matt Paradis himself is not that bad. Right guard, I would really like to start David Moore over John Miller. I think that was a heck of a pickup for the Panthers. I thought David Moore should have gone a lot. I don't remember if he went undrafted or not, but regardless, if he got drafted, I don't think it was sooner than the 5th round, and I had like a 4th round grade on him. So yeah, David Moore was a really solid pickup for them. Again, I don't know if he's going to start over John Miller, but John Miller's not been very good. So this offensive line, the main thing is that there's a ton of young upside with a lot of these guys, but will they hit it? Can they replace these guys? We'll have to see. And then right tackle, Taylor Moton obviously played fantastic. If I'm not mistaken, he either got franchise tagged or he got a big extension. Either way, he's with the team at least for 1 more year. There's really no one else besides him at that right tackle position. Maybe you move Greg Little over there or something. But Taylor Moton himself is a great tackle. Maybe you move Greg Little over there. Let's say that happens. In that case, you've got a pretty solid backup and a really solid, nearing good. No, he's good. He's good. You're nearing elite with Taylor Moton, so you got a near elite guy with a good backup. So I'm going to give that an A- there for the right tackle room. Overall, with this offensive line, like I just said, it's a lot of depth and young players. Brown, David, and Brown, Moore, and Christensen. So we'll see if any of those guys can hit. If so, obviously that's good for the Panthers. Like, let's say all three of them hit. They have a fantastic offensive line there. Like, if these guys play like they did in college, that's an amazing offensive line. But for right now, it's not the best offensive line in the world, which is going to hurt Sam Darnold. Tight end room. Dan Arnold is probably my guy to start, but it could also be Tommy Tremble. Ian Thomas was very disappointing last year, so I feel like he'll probably be the three behind Tremble and Arnold. Arnold coming over from Arizona, I think he's kind of like that perfect fit for this Panthers offense. But Tommy Tremble, I also really loved out of Notre Dame. I think this guy could be starting day one, or like at the very least, he'll probably be starting by year two. I do really love the upside on Tremble, very athletic. So either way, I mean, you've got two guys that can start, one with a ton of upside, and a fine enough three, because he should not have been starting last year. Overall, this tight end room, I'm going to give a B2 for right now, but it could raise a little bit if Tremble gets a bit better. But I do think Arnold and Tremble are capable for right now. The quarterback room, Sam Darnold. With Sam Darnold, I feel like he was definitely held back by the Jets. I think it was really frustrating that they just refused to help him at all, and then just kicked him out. And then as soon as they kick him out, then they bring in a bunch of offensive help. So I'm sure that feels bad to be Sam Darnold, but you're coming over to the Panthers that have a lot of really good weapons. I mean, we just already talked about the receiving core. Tight end room is deep. We haven't even gotten to the running back room yet, but it's. I mean, obviously you see who the number one is there. The offensive line is definitely going to be a bit of a struggle, but he always already dealt with a bad offensive line there at New Jersey. At least that he has some fantastic. I say New Jersey, by the way, just because, I mean, they're technically in New Jersey, New York, whatever. At least he has some great weapons this time. Like I said, the offensive line has a ton of young potential. Sam Darnold, I do believe in Sam Darnold. I think, there's a reason he was once a high draft pick. I really do believe in Sam Darnold. Is it too late, though? I guess we'll see this year. I mean, this is the X factor for this team. Like, if he plays well, if he's like even a top 20, top 25 guy, they're in playoff contention. They do have a really solid roster. There are a few holes and stuff, but they're nearing playoff contention if Sam Darnold plays well. So we'll have to see. PJ Walker behind him, the XFL superstar. I think he's interesting to see what he can do. He's shown a few little things, and then Will Greer, serviceable enough backup. Overall, this quarterback room, I'm going to give a C2 right now, but again, it really depends on how Sam Darnold plays. So. And then last, the running back room. Really no one to talk about here besides, obviously, Christian McCaffrey and Chuba Hubbard. With Christian McCaffrey, I mean, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. I don't think he's the best, like everyone says. He's dealing with a lot of injuries recently, so I'm wondering how that's going to affect him. Obviously, though, for a while, he was the best dual threat running back in football, and it wasn't even close. I think as a straight-up runner, there are better guys than him now, but, as a dual threat, if he's healthy, he's the best in the NFL. That obviously is great for Sam Darnold and this offense as a whole, the team as a whole. So, there's an argument to be made that Christian McCaffrey could have won a couple MVPs. So, if you really were true to the name of most valuable player. And then Chuba Hubbard. I talked about this guy a lot in my running back rankings video a while ago, that he's a weird player because 2019 Chuba Hubbard was this fantastic first round worthy running back, and then 2020 Chuba Hubbard was a barely draftable running back. So the Panthers picked this guy up. He's a power type guy, so he's kind of, if he does hit, he's a nice compliment to Christian McCaffrey. And honestly, if he shows his 2019 self, the Panthers might have the best running back duo in the NFL here, because Hubbard does have that kind of potential and that kind of talent. It's just, will he hit it? Will he show that version of himself? We'll have to see. But this running back room right now, I'm going to give an A. Hubbard has a ton of upside. McCaffrey is one of the best in the game. Simple enough. This offense, the offensive line is really going to hold them back from truly being a great offense, I think. Even if Sam Darnold does play great, that offensive line is not going to be doing him any favors. So for right now, I do love a lot of this offense, but the offensive line needs a lot of work, and will Sam Darnold finally show his true self? We'll see. Or have we already seen his true self? Moving on to the defense. Brian Burns, fantastic. This dude is one of the brightest futures of any defensive players in the NFL right now. I'm a big fan of Brian Burns. I'm expecting a big year from him. And behind him, Morgan Fox and Marquise Haynes. That's some really solid depth there too. Brian Burns starting for you. That's an A-. I don't think you can quite consider Brian Burns elite yet. And Morgan Fox and Haynes aren't like elite depth, but it's a very, very good room there. I'm a big fan of Brian Burns. Defensive tackle, Derek Brown starting for you. Very, very solid run stuffer. Not much more else than that, in my opinion. Did not think he was worth as high a pick as he was taken, but he's still a solid run blocker. Behind him, Daquan Jones, which for some reason they have him all the way down here. He's also a very solid guy. Much better pass rusher, although he's not as good a run blocker as Derek Brown. I think he's a really nice compliment to be his number 2. I don't know why they have him down here. And then they took Davion Nixon, who I also really like. He's kind of like really similar to Daquan Jones, actually, but younger. So yeah, this is a really solid defensive tackle room. Not a lot of these guys are like good depth per se, but they do have a nice starting 3 here, especially 2 nice starters with a young backup. So I'm going to give this room a B. Again, no one's special here, but a very solid all-around room. Other defensive end room, you turn Gross Matos and then really no one else. Gross Matos, great person, great story. I do think he holds a lot of upside. He's definitely not shown it yet, though. He's not someone I would want starting right now. I think he's a great compliment to Brian Burns, but he's not there yet. So with no depth and him being not the best right now anyways, I'm going to give this a D for right now, but I do think Gross Matos has a ton of upside. I don't think he'll hit it this year, though. We're just going to include the whole linebacking room here as a group. Hassan Reddick was an interesting signing to me. I don't know if they're necessarily going to use him like he was used in Arizona, which I think is exactly how you need to use Hassan Reddick. So I am a little, like, it's something more to note, not necessarily concerned, because he's still a decent linebacker, but I think you got to use him as more of that, like, outside linebacker versatility, and obviously the Panthers are a 4-3 team. So Denzel Perryman is a solid guy that I believe has always been underrated from the Chargers. He's very, very good in pass coverage, so he's great to have there in the middle. Shaq Thompson, also a pretty solid linebacker as well. I wouldn't quite call him good, but he's a very solid guy. Frankie Luvu as your backup, nice backup there. Patty Fisher, a young guy with a ton of upside. Christian Miller, a decent backup as well. Yeah, overall, this is a linebacker room that really doesn't have a weak spot. There are 3 very, very solid to good guys here. Don't know if they're going to use Reddick right, but I love the rest of this room and the depth and stuff. So this is going to be a B+ for me. Again, no one special, but very solid, very, very solid room. So cornerback. I like the cornerback room here, but it once again lacks that top tier talent. I'm imagining AJ Boye is probably, after his 2-week suspension, is probably going to be starting for the Panthers. Dante Jackson's probably going to be across from him. I don't know if JC Horn's going to be starting right away. I really don't understand why they took him over Surtain. Like, if you were going to take a corner first, I would have definitely gone Surtain. I don't understand the logic behind that. Horn is great. He's physical, he's quick, he's athletic, but he just kind of, suffers with some other traits at times. He's not the best in just coverage overall at times, especially man coverage. He can get grabby. I do think he holds a lot of upside. I do like him. I think this Panthers defense is a nice fit for him. I just don't see much from him in his first year. I don't feel like they should try to start him either. He'll be starting that first couple of weeks, obviously, with Boye out. But, as of right now, I think he's probably the number 3. Troy Pride Jr. is a really, really solid 3 or 4 for them. That's a great player to have as depth right there. Rashawn Melvin, also fantastic depth. This is a very good corner room, but once again, it's just really lacking that top tier talent. JC Horn could surprise us all and be that, but for right now, I'm going to give it a B. Very good, very solid, very young, just lacking that top tier talent. Free safety, Jeremy Chin, Sean Chandler. Sean Chandler, just a fun name if you know the YouTuber, but he's also a fine whatever backup. Jeremy Chin, on the other hand, was fantastic in his rookie year. He looks well on his way to being one of the better safeties in the NFL. Enough said there. The lack of depth kind of hurts this a little bit, so I am going to give a B-, but Jeremy Chin is a very, very solid guy on his way up. And then the strong safety, no depth here, but Justin Burris is not very good in his own either. So I'm going to give a D to that one. Justin Burris himself just is not the best guy. No depth here. So very good safety and then very poor safety. Overall, this defense, it's young. There's a lot of potential. It's very depthy at certain places, it's just not quite good enough, in my opinion, to carry this team to many wins, if any. This other safety hole is a big hole right here. Cornerback still lacking like that top tier talent. Besides Brian Burns, you really don't have any other type of pass rush unless they use Hassan Reddick correctly, and I don't know if they will. You know, they've got some great run stuffers, but and then down here, I mean, Joey Sly is a fine enough kicker. Who knows who their punter is? And kick returner, I mean, yeah, it can be pretty much anyone, really. So, yeah, there's no specific guy here. But, overall, it's just, the offense, great, full of weapons. Offensive line is going to hold them back a little bit. We don't know what we're getting from Sam Darnold. Defense is good, but it's not great. There's some holes across the roster. We'll get to their schedule and their coaching and stuff in here in a second, but I do love this roster. I think it's another team that they're looking very bright for the future, but I just don't see it from them this year. So let's go take a look at their schedule. And taking a look here at the Panthers schedule, once again, it's one of the harder schedules in the NFL. Because there's not really an easy schedule anymore, but it's not even close to easy, to be honest. I mean, the Texans, Cowboys, Eagles, that's really the only, quote, toss-up games, in my opinion. The rest are going to be very tough games. Now, again, this is a team that, it's going to rely on a lot of, how does this offensive line play? How does Sam Darnold play? The defense is good. I don't think it's good enough. There are some games here that they can certainly win. I just would not be surprised if they don't win that many. I don't see a possibility where they, I don't see a possibility where they win many of these games, just to be honest. I want to believe in Sam Darnold. I just don't know if it's going to happen, to be honest. The offensive line, again, just poor. The coaching in itself, Matt Rule, I just was never a big fan of him in general either. He's fine as an offensive coach. That's great because that's kind of what they need a bit more, since I do think the defense is better. But it's just, you take it all combined. I'm not a big fan of the coaching. The culture is, I don't know if there's really that much of a great culture in Carolina, but it's not bad for certain. The schedule, very tough. The division, very tough. So overall, it's all going to bring the Panthers down to 25 here for me. But let me know what you guys think about the Panthers this year down below. If you guys did like the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see all you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.